the recording. This webinar is being recorded, so it will be available on the First Nations Technology Council website for your viewing afterwards too as well. But it's already 10:02, so I'm going to go ahead and get us started. Good morning. My name is Selena Dorme. I'm the Manager of Engagement Capacity with the First Nations Public Service Secretariat. And I'm also a member of the Tsleil-Waututh Nation in North Vancouver, but I'm joining you today on the from the unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples here in West Vancouver from our offices. This webinar today is brought to you in partnership with the First Nations Technology Council too as well. As I mentioned, this webinar will be hosted on their Streamin website, which we'll share in the group chat later throughout the webinar. But today's webinar is website best practices, and we have our lovely facilitator here, which I'm going to introduce. Her name is Zandra Ross. Give us a wave, Zandra. And she is joined today by Camila Sanchez, who will also be supporting and helping out with moderating questions later throughout today's webinar. So I'm going to be behind the scenes. If you have any questions, technical issues, need a Zoom link, get kicked out, all of that stuff, you can reach out to myself or my colleague, Julia Malesko. Her icon right there is the big blue bird, but you can send her a direct message and we'll try to get your issues resolved as soon as possible. But I'm going to stop yapping and I'm going to hand it over to Zandra to get today started.
Thank you so much, Selena, for that warm welcome. Thank you, everybody, for choosing to spend your time with us today talking about website development. As Selena so kindly introduced me, my name is Zandra Ross, and my maiden name is Wycott. I am from the Williams Lake First Nation. Still getting used to that name rolling off my tongue. We just changed it a few months ago from the Williams Lake Indian Band. So it is a super honor to be able to share some knowledge with you today. I have lived, I'm from Williams Lake, but I have called the Lheidli T'enneh territory my home for the past, I used to get excited about saying how many years I did things, but it's starting to hit that time where I'm going to start saying I don't know what I'm doing at all. But it's been almost, it's just about getting close to 30 years. So it's been about 28 years that I've been so honored to call this territory my home and be able to thrive and raise my family and run a business in this amazing community. And my wonderful co-worker, Camila Sanchez, on with us today. She's our technician. She'll be helping us along the way with any questions. But without further ado, I realize how busy all of you are, and that's what's great about these webinars is they are meant to bring you content, to bring you good rules of thumb to help you move on and do what you need to do for your community, for your organization. My background is in community and organizational development. I've been working in First Nations communities for 28 years and in a variety of ways in terms of, but a lot in terms of helping people communicate better, whether that's through actual communication skills, emotional intelligence, overcoming mindset blocks, and just learning to strategize our communication. Also looking at virtual communication. We've done a lot of treaty communications. That's what Camila and I have a lot of experience in, is working with community engagement in terms of how do we get our information out to our community members in the most effective way possible. So we are also going to be, there will be another communication webinar coming up next week as well, where we'll be talking a little bit about this. So as was mentioned, we've got content for you here. We're going to have lots of opportunities to ask questions. So if anybody, we've got a few of us monitoring the chat box. So if you have any questions, please put them into the chat box. Our team will be presenting them to me. We are going to have time. This is kind of broken into two sections, and we'll show a little bit as we go. Yes, thank you so much. And I'm just going to flip through here. As you see, we're at website practices for community engagement is our topic. I'm going to get over to our topic here. As said, my name is Zandra Ross. I'm also a life coach and a registered trainer with the Canadian Association of Registered Professional Trainers. But then everyone always gets that confused with my other life, where I'm also a personal trainer and a group fitness instructor. So a little bit of a background there. So today's agenda, what are we going to be talking about today? We've kind of got it split into two pieces today, because we realize not everybody needs the same type of information, the same intensity. So we're going to have kind of our first one is for everyone. It's the 6 best practices for websites. All right. Then we're going to move into more of the technicians. That'll be about 45, 50 minutes. We will then move into more of a technical. Everyone can still participate. We promise we haven't gone too high level, because that's what this was about, was best practices. And then looking at some 6 steps to launch your website, and then looking at an opportunity for question and answer. So feel free to put those in. We will be keeping an eye on things. And like I said, there will be lots of opportunities to chat as we go. Oops, sorry guys, getting too excited here. All of our wonderful little animations here, great. So here we go, let's jump right into this. And like I said, we will be taking questions here as we go. I know the team will be dictating to me as we go here. So let's get down to business. So 6 practices for best websites. So here we go. At a glance, this is what we're going to be talking about in the next 25, 30 minutes here. So we started brainstorming. There's so much technical knowledge we can bring. You guys know that's why you're here, because you are overwhelmed. I know I do. Whenever I think, oh, I need a technician, I need help on this. My website, which I designed 10 years ago, ended up costing me $30,000. I am a solopreneur. I did not need a $30,000 website, but I didn't know any better. So that's what we've brought you, is a lot of those best practices. I paid for the mistakes, my friends, and that's what we want to show you, is some of the ways to, pardon me, be able to figure out, so that you can at least speak to these technicians with a little bit of background, because that's what I didn't have. I trusted what everybody else said. And when they told me I needed the biggest bells and whistles, I believed them. So that's what we want to share with you, is some of those things, so you can start to talk to your technicians, your web designers, and just have a little bit information. Did I not share my screen? Am I doing okay here, everybody? I just want to make.
I'm just making sure that the attendees can see the screen share. So I was just asking a question. No, we can't see it. So I can go ahead and
guys, I'm going to do this here. Just a sec. Did I do this? Is that better?
Yes.
Sorry, guys. I got a little excited there and just didn't do what I should have done. Sorry, Camilla's like, Sandra, I know. So you guys, it doesn't always work necessarily. I'm going to go back here. That's technology for you, so don't worry about it. I'm going to flip back here quickly so you guys know me. Thank you for that. I appreciate you. I need another mouse here, I think. So thank you guys. So like I said, website practices. I won't go best practices for community engagement. Again, my name is Sandra Ross. You saw that, my details. And here we go. So today's agenda: 6 best practices for websites, 6 steps to launch your website, and then frequently answered questions. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you. And as I said, here's our wonderful animation. That's what's great about websites and technology, is sometimes it's making it visually pleasing to people. So we'll be talking through there. And feel free, Selena, I love that. Thank you. Feel free to jump in whenever you need to and voice it. Because like I said, it's, you guys, I get paid to talk. So it's always nice, like I was saying, when it's more of a community feeling. So we love any questions that you have. So let's get into this. So what are the things that we're going to focus on today? We wanted to give you at a glance. We know there's not all the time. These take website designers, you know how long some of your websites have taken to design. It doesn't happen overnight. So I don't want you to think we're going to give you every last knowledge piece out of this, but I promise you, we're going to give you, some ways and things to think about. So what is the first thing that we want to really look at is know thy membership. These are the 6 points we're going to go through. So we'll go point by point. So these are our ways of thinking when Camille is working on websites for people, and when we're working on my website, what are we doing? So know thy membership, identify your team, talking about goals, always important. What do you need your website for? Get inspired, start small, and keep the process going. So we're going to touch base on each one of these. So that we can, there we go. All right. So let's start with the first point. Okay, so know thy membership. What does this mean? And like we say, we joke about it's our commandments, right, of website development. So what does this look like for people? Oh, sorry, guys. I think I missed my screen share. There we go. Thank you. Sorry about that. So what does that look like? The first thing, what does your membership want to know when they visit your website? So we're not going to go into specifically how to design your site, but what I want you to think about, what is it that your membership wants to know when they visit? Because what I did is I went for all the bells and whistles right off the instant. No, we need to make it as complicated as possible. What happened to a lot of us in our communities with funding is funding comes right through the government, and all of a sudden they go, there's website funding. That's what happened with me. So instead of really thinking about what I needed, there was funding. So I went with the biggest, fanciest website that I could possibly get for my buck. But then it was totally unusable for me. So I really never thought, what do I want my clients to know about me? What's the most important? Do they need all the bells and whistles, or do they need to be able to navigate this appropriately? Let me see here. I'm just going to make sure. I want to make sure. Sorry, guys, I'm not seeing the right thing here. That's okay. I'm just going to go here. I want to make sure everybody can see what I'm seeing. I went and clicked the wrong thing here, but that's okay. I'm going to keep going. Okay, so pre-project survey for true community engagement. Okay, so talk to your community members. What is it that they want to know? How can you?
Sandra, we're still on Know Thy Membership slide.
And that's where I'm at. That's okay. Still in the membership. Sorry, guys. I'm just trying to, my one Zoom screen disappeared. My apologies. I'm trying a little new technology. I shouldn't have tried that today, but that's okay. As long as you can see, that's my most important. Thank you, Selena.
Okay, yes, we can see. Sorry. I will.
No worries. No, like I said, this is all good times. I've got my Zoom is on the other screen, so that's where I see it now. Thank you. Okay, so pre-project, it's still under Know Thy Membership. So the next thing, pre-project survey for true community engagement. Ask your members, what is it that they want to do? Being that Camila and I do a lot of treaty stuff, that's what we look at, is how do we help get communication out, meeting dates, documents that people need to read, all the things that the First Nations public service sector does so well as well on their website. So if you want to look at best practices, you found their website, there are some great lessons to learn from that website. The next point, also be aware that your members are not always going to be looking at it on a computer screen. The fact is, the majority of them are going to be looking on their phone. And so you want to make sure that whatever your technician, when you're doing the layout, that you make sure, we call it optimizing it for your desktop, your laptop, and your phone. And realizing that a lot of the wonderful bells and whistles that we put in there, a lot of the graphics and things, our members' phones are not going to be able to pick it up. They may not have fast enough internet. That's the other thing. And you guys know, some of you that are in more isolated communities, I work a lot in Haida Gwaii, and it is a hit and miss sometimes whether we can get decent connection through Zoom, but even for their websites, right, to be able to have their members access. So really important to know what your membership wants before, because it's also going to save you a lot of money and a lot of headache, because it can get, if it's too complicated. All right, here. All right. So next piece, identify your team. Now, not everyone has a team. Some of you may go, it's the computer tech down at the local computer shop, and that's fine. What we want to look at is, a lot of times people will go, oh, the communications person, we have a communications person and they're going to do everything. Well, not your communications person doesn't necessarily have all that technical ability. And that's what I see happens is we try to get our technicians to learn how to do all of these technical things when really their expertise is in communications, right? The written and the spoken word versus the technological. So not everybody's going to be able to afford to have a whole bunch of different levels of people helping. But I want you to think about it. Who's the project you want to task people with your website? It's like any project when we just go, oh, somebody's going to figure it out. So who do you need to help support you in different pieces? And it may not all be the same person. It may be just somebody who's the project champion. That may be the project manager who says, I have no idea, but I know what our community needs and wants. So they may be working closely along with the technician. You can also bring in content producers. So who are the writers in your community? Who wants to share information? So it doesn't all have to be the same person, but you need a strategy, right? That's a webinar for another day, but looking at what is the communication strategy, we'll talk a little bit about that that next week. And then you might also have an advisory group. So people who can say no, and elders who go, I don't understand what that newfangled talk is on there. I don't know what you guys are trying to do. That is not what is going to help the elders. We need just a button, a big orange neon button that says, click here for information or what have you. And that's funny. Some of the content market I've been doing in sales, we try to make our website so beautiful and artistic. But what they find is the easiest navigations are the fluorescent green blinking button that if you want people to really pay attention to what you want, the art and all the beauty is so nice, but that if you really want them to vote on that thing or sign up for that workshop, make it as garish and shining as possible. All right. So that's my first little tip. But identify your team. Who's going to help you do things? All right. Number 3. Talking about goals. So again, this kind of ties to what does your membership want? What do they need? But also you as an administrator, you as an administrative body, you as a leadership group, because I know we have all sorts of different people that are tuning into these webinars. So what I would say is, what is it that you need this website for? Is it to just make sure community members are getting the latest information? Is it, I know it's multiple purposes, and that's part of it. We need to really start making a list. So as you're going, take some notes. What are people asking for? Is it the latest? Like I'm working with one community where we're setting up their bingo, where it's just a link. They've got a virtual bingo going on and people are always like, bingo, bingo, and it's driving everyone crazy. Well, we got a big, that's why I told you about the bright green neon light. That's what we put on their website because that's what the people want. All that other stuff is nice. But if it's not serving your membership, then it is doing nothing. And it is not serving you and you're still getting a million calls a day, then it isn't working for you either, right? So really important. So what are some of the things, the goals of your website that you might have? It might be a place for administration to share updates. It might be urgent and important. So safety things, right? It might be COVID, it might be elections. There could natural disasters, right? I know locally we had a pipeline natural gas explosion happen out at Clayton today locally. And it was so much a combination of verbal communication, but also getting the word out on the website. Why? Because you go, well, it's the community members. Well, community members live off reserve, so they're not right there. They're not getting real-time information. They're freaking out. We've also got other people in the community that are going, what's going on? What's going on? And they're tying up the phone because they're trying to call the band office to make sure everybody's okay. Can we help? So that website can really form part of also your disaster relief strategy, where you can start getting information out to people really quickly if you have that as part of your strategy. All right. So what is the goal of it? And also you can have resources and tools. I know on my website, I've got a free resources section where I've got worksheets and different things. Yours, it might be your application forms. How do I get an application for housing? How do I apply for that funding that's coming up? Well, put some buttons on there, right? And I know a lot of you know these things. So believe me, I know I'm talking to a lot of experts already in the crowd. So I'm speaking to the person who maybe doesn't have all that or is maybe just getting started. But the biggest thing is don't get overwhelmed. Just kind of back it off a little bit. And it's the same. And it's the same about, and I was going to go back here too, just looking at identifying your team. Like I said, don't worry about it being the most technical person. Sometimes it's important to bring in the elders because it might be getting them to even look at your framework. And we'll talk a bit more about the website as we go. They say, I can't read that. I can't look at that on my phone. So it may be going, oh, what would help, Granny? You need to make those letters bigger. I can't read that. Well, it may be because, you know, on some phones, you can make the font bigger. It may be helping them with that. It may be genuinely making the font bigger on our website or making it more adaptable to what it is. Okay. So we just want to make sure that, and that's where these team members. So don't worry if you're going, hey man, I'm the only person here. We understand that. Okay. So, and like I said, engage your youth too. You've got so many smart young people in your communities who know a lot about this stuff. Okay, so don't worry about it. So what are the goals? Another way is streamlined way to contact everybody. And I kind of mentioned that is a lot about what it can do for you. All righty. So And the other thing is, so if you've got a current website, because some of you are going, yeah, this is nice to know now, but holy cow, I'm like you, I spend $30,000 and we don't know what we're doing with our website. Don't worry about it, right? It's really about thinking about, okay, what do we need? What do we want? For some people, it's finding a technician and they can help you update what you have. All right. They can help you take away. That's what I find a lot of websites is we need to take stuff away because it's all been pieced together. But you can also, and we'll talk a little bit about platforms after. Where do you? I'm getting ready to abandon one of my websites. Why? Because it doesn't serve me anymore. And it would be just easier for me to start from scratch on a WordPress site. And we'll talk about that and have it done really easy and cheap than for me to try to spend, because it'll probably cost me $10,000 or $15,000 with a designer to revamp the site. So that's my goal. Is it to make my website? No, I just need a landing page for my people. My website isn't the end all be all for me. So I don't want to spend another $10,000 to $15,000 on it right now. So those are part of my goals. That's why it's important for you to know what are our goals with this. And then really looking at what features or functionalities do you want to keep? And we'll be brainstorming a little bit about how you figure these things out. What needs to change? Right? How much work needs to get done to get your current website where it needs to be? How much is it going to cost? That's going to have a lot. And that's what I say is, you know what? It may be cheaper to say, let's start from scratch. These are the 5 things. We don't need those other 18 things that other person added. So that's what I say too. If you're overwhelmed, don't worry about it. We get so tied to things and we go, oh, we can never get rid of it. No, technology is so much easier than that website that you had designed 15 or 20 years ago, if that's something you're still using. It is so much more responsive, quicker, and easier for us to use nowadays. Alrighty. So think about those types of things. And then all of the above, like we said, it could be one of these things, but I think for most of you, it's everything. We want it to be everywhere. It's also for me, and then for any of you that have products for sale or things that people have to pay for. We haven't even talked about kind of the commerce section, and we'll talk a bit more of that in the second round, but even the commerce section of you being able to sell products from your arts and crafts stores, for you to be able to sell workshops that you are designing. I think people are constantly reaching out for cultural, sensitivity workshops. Well, to me, our communities are the best people for that. So that could be something where our communities start selling their services. So commerce is another e-commerce that we look at, but that's a topic for another day. So what is it that you want this website to do? And then this is my favorite part, because this is what I love to do, is to get inspired, right? Look at other websites. That's the biggest thing when we're working with clients and helping them design websites, because that's one of the focuses of our business is we help organizations design their website, but also help fix websites that aren't working so much. We have a technical team behind us, a web development team. And that's where we start going is let's dream. And one of the first things we say is, go out and look at other websites. Go check out some other things and see what you see. What looks sexy to you, right? And get inspired. Well, we probably can't afford that. Don't worry about it. Go kick some tires. Go to the fanciest tire or car shop in the place and just go look. Get inspired. But a lot of times we go, oh, well, we don't have this is all we have. Or worse yet, well, this is the way it was 10 years ago. So I don't really want to change it too much. We like it this way. Life changes, people change, and ideas change. So that's what I want you to do is get inspired, right? Look at other nations, provincially, nationally, internationally, right? There's some amazing things out there. Look at nonprofits, for-profits, look at Apple website, look at Coca-Cola, right? Like go look and see what it is. The places that you go, look at Amazon. And I know that's overwhelming, but you look at everything's there at your fingertips. A mall and more is in front of your fingertips. They've got a strategy around that, right? How do members engage with the content? Is there a lot of interaction? Right? And we'll talk about tools to get interaction in your website, because if your website isn't getting hits, if nobody's going to it, then it's kind of a waste of your time and money. So we want to make sure that you are getting maximum connection. And we'll talk a little bit about SEO or search engine optimization. Don't want to get too technical, but we'll talk a little bit about that. And then, like I said, we'll be showing you some examples here coming up of some websites that we really think work well as people who work in this industry, and communities that we're seeing that they are getting good interaction with their presentation. So here we go. Here are those samples for you. So looking at Clately Tene, because that's one that we've worked very closely with. And Camila has been very involved with our tech team in helping design this. So what is it? What do we got? What we liked about this was the ongoing survey and feedback option. So what is that? It's an active way for you constantly, instead of going, we're going to do our CCP, our community comprehensive planning, once every 4 years, and then we'll survey people. The best way to get info is ongoing. So if we can have a consistent way, that's what we really loved about this. And that's what Clately Tene wanted, was to be really responsive to their membership and be able to get that real-time information. And that feedback of programs. But they can also put surveys. We're also doing a health, they're working on their health plan right now. So we've got a health survey that we've added to the new one. Okay, click here to do the health survey. So just different ways to get people excited. One thing that I'm getting as well is, instead of just having a button, I'm getting the health director to do a video waving to everyone going, hey, everybody, it's me, blah, blah, making it more interactive so that people know where to click. Do you see the big green button below me? Click that if you want to do the survey, right? Make it as simple and clear for your members to access your content as possible. All right. But here's a nice clean one. And to me, it's very responsive of their culture, of who they are, but it isn't overwhelming. You can really clearly see what you need to find. Another one that we absolutely love was the Tsawwassen First Nation programs and services layout. So it isn't necessarily the whole site, it was pieces that we wanted to show you. So with this layout, it's amazing because they're buttons. I feel like those are those big shiny buttons that there's a picture of exactly what I want to see. I don't have to read a whole bunch of content, and you know, where we give descriptions that are this long for it. And people go, I just want to find how to apply for my status card, man. Where is this thing? Well, that's where in the intent you go, what are community members asking us for? Status card, the newsletter. Well, maybe those form big buttons on your page as well. So words are great, but you know, language, our language wasn't written. It was a visual language. So the more we can get back to using pictures, we also start dealing with any literacy, because that's a big thing in our community, right? We write our websites and our content for from our, you know, like our post-secondary knowledge. But the reality is, a lot of our members that are watching it are like, come on, give me the 5-cent word instead of the 25-cent word, right? My good old English teacher used to say to us. So thinking about that clarity, and that's why we chose this one, was we thought it was fantastic. This was an amazing addition that we found. Absolutely love it. It's the Nuu-chah-nulth Tribal Council Language and Alphabet. You know how our communities are screaming for language and culture, and we don't always have it. We set up programs, people don't always make it. Well, here's a way that people can start to learn and hear the letters. So you see there's recordings on it where you can click, you can hear how the letters are pronounced. And I know that there's a lot of communities that are designing their own language programs. So there are some really cool things that you can do, and don't worry about it. You know, if this is something you're interested down the road, then we can chat with you more about that. All right, you guys are amazing. And then finally, Musqueam. And this is, I think, a common one that a lot of places have, are these, have a calendar. What I really like about it is the mixture of free, for myself, like free and activities that you're just connected with. Like for me, what we're working on is all of because we love the First Nations public service sector, and there's so many valuable free workshops, I'm going to start incorporating those into our calendar, because I work with a lot of Indigenous leaders, and I'm going to start. So my calendar is going to have more than just me. It's going to have resources that my community, my community, which are my clients, may see as beneficial. So that calendar can be really helpful. And two, if you've got active links where you can click right on the link and go sign up for this amazing website workshop today. So how can you get it? How can they sign up for bingo? How can they get involved? So making that as interactive as possible, but also taking it to a page where it can explain what this particular thing is about. All right, so were some fantastic examples that we really loved. So Point five that we want to make is start small. I've been saying that all the way through. I went right to from zero, where I worked with somebody else and I had never thought about having a website, to pretty much a $30,000 website. And yes, I couldn't afford it. I didn't know. The technicians just kept saying, okay, okay. And I didn't know how much things cost. So having a budget, knowing how much you want to spend. I never did that. I never even asked how much should a website cost. So, and now I go, oh my goodness, I know amazing people that can create amazing websites for $3,000 to $5,000. You know, the more simpler frame, but have everything that you need and work fine. Geez, could have saved myself 25 grand. So what I would say is look at what your budget is, right? But start small. Don't worry going right to the top level, because then again, you are going to be at the whim of web designers. And sorry, no offense, but I know a lot of you don't necessarily have internal web designers, right? We have to hire out. So where do we do? Start small, grow with the needs of your nation, your organization, your business. What is it that you need, right? And that's where I'm at. I'm going back to scaling back. I'm taking things off of my website. We're going to bring them back later. But right now there's too much content. My clients don't know where to go. I'm overwhelming them with stuff. So that's what we're going to start doing, is you can just start hiding stuff on your website. You don't have to delete it. You just hide it and then you can bring it back when you need it. All right. So really looking at the foundation and what are some of those things that you can look at. What are the bare bones that you need for a web page? You need your homepage, right? Which is that welcome to us. This is what we are here for, to serve you, how we can serve you. And the second one, an about us or history, programs and services, leadership and staff directory, events, and a contact us. I mean, if that's all you have, that'll be fine, right? And then with each one of them, you can start to go in a little bit deeper, call them subdirectories and things like that, right? Subpages. But at the very least, that's what you can do. And when we talk about actually setting them up, the great things is there are plug and play platforms now where you pretty much just have to go put it, it's already frameworked out for you, where you just have to put in your logo, put in this, put in the other thing. All right. And it'll basically have the home page. The pages will already be set up for you. You just have to go type your content in. We'll talk a little bit more about those details here shortly. So start small. That is our biggest one for here. All righty. And then finally, point 6, keep the process going. So what'll happen is people go, that's my website. And one of the biggest things, if you want to keep your website active, if you want to still, and we'll talk again about search engine optimization, what that means is that people can find you easily. There's not 4 other people's names that come up because your domain name or your web name is so close to something else, or there's a letter out. So they go to type it and they always end up on this other web page. You've done it. You've gone and tried to get onto a web page. Why can't I find this? So you really need to make sure that you're getting that your website is active, that it's working, that the links are working. And we'll talk about that in the second half of this, more about the technical aspects of it. But making sure also that it's constantly being updated. I'm like, for me, I just had a website and I let it sit. And then I wondered why nobody went to it. Well, it's like anything. What is active, what's new, and what's fresh is what gets our attention. So even your members, they don't want to just keep coming back and staring at the same old thing. If you want them to actually use your website as a community message board, which is, I think, what everyone's hoping, then you want to make sure it's snappy and you want to make sure that you're updating it regularly. That's, I think, the number one problem that we have with websites is people just have it and then it never changes again. And people get bored of it and they stop going, even your members. And that's where the phone starts ringing again, or you start getting a hotline of emails going, where's this thing? It's on the website. It's on the website. Ah, nobody's changed that. It's not there. The link doesn't work. So continually go back to it. Ask your community questions. Ask what your organization, ask your staff, is this working? What are the complaints we've had about it? What more information do people need? Alrighty. And checking back with your advisory group, make that a sampling of your community members to go, we need you to check the links regularly. We want you to go and sign up for this course, and just make sure that it is. And talk to your family. Let us know, is this website thing working for them? Okay. So just constantly being aware of those types of things, right? So make sure I hit all this. And then it would be really great to have somebody monitoring. We're going to talk about feedback here and getting feedback mechanisms put onto your website. You saw the Clately Tene one. Well, I'll give you an example. I just applied for music lessons for my kid online. They said, oh, look, we've got this great online way. And I'm like, oh, awesome. I'm going to do that because it's easier than trying to give I thought it was easier than trying to give someone the information over the phone. Long story short, I don't think anybody's monitoring that email link. So it's been a week now and nobody's gotten back to me. So I was going to get annoyed and just go call another music company. And then it was funny because I was doing the notes for this and reading through and went, oh, wait a minute. They probably don't have a set person monitoring your feedback. So if you're going to have a feedback section on your website, if you're going to be set somebody as the person, whether it's the receptionist, and maybe it's not them answering the questions, but you need a process. So if we're getting feedback about our website, if we're getting feedback through the website, what's the process to manage this and to be able to act on it? All right. And then, like I said, you can bring in technical people, right? So I'm not saying you necessarily have to run in. We've got a lot of smart young people out there that can help us, that we've got technicians walking among us, my friends. And so it's exciting to see what you can create. So where am I at here? All right. All right. So quick question. That is kind of the first part of our technical or non-technical technical piece, I guess, right? So just wanted to check. Excellent. Yes. Thank you. Yes, we will be. Awesome. Thank you. I will make sure, Chris, yes, you will be getting a copy. Thank you. Just want to make sure that we have everything. Yes, we promise we will get you this. And we'll also have contact info. First Nations Public Service Secretariat have us on their list if there's anything we can help support you through after. If you have any additional questions and you're not able to get your question answered here, also, we may not be able to answer your questions. So what our commitment is that, like anything, we want to go and get the info for you. So we will figure it out and we will get back to you. So please let Julia and Selena know if there's anything that we're missing, or maybe you think of something after this webinar where you go, oh shoot, I had a great question. Feel free to reach out to them and they can connect with us, or they'll point you in our direction. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. All righty. So, and again, if anybody has to get off soon, feel free to drop those questions in the question and answer box, and we will have time at the end as well. So not to worry. All righty, so we are going to move into the next section of our presentation, which is 6 steps to, oops, there I go again, getting excited here. I got too many buttons going on. 6 steps to launch your website. All right. And that's where you got excited. This is a little bit more the technical side. So we gave you kind of just the layout, the view piece. Now we're moving into some more details. So what are 6 steps? And you guys know, for those of you who are technicians on this, you know there's a whole lot of steps to this, but that's what we're trying to do, is give a little bit of a framework for you to move forward. So any of you who are super experts, we also don't want you to think that we are, oh gosh, they're simplifying this way too much. We get it. We know that this is an in-depth process. So just know that that's our goal, is to give as much information as we can. But this is also not to really teach people how to design a website. To me, this is really about providing the information so that you're able to talk website talk with your technicians, with your community, so that it isn't totally like me going, okay, that sounds good, whatever you say, that you can start to go, well, what is our budget? How much is this going to cost me? How long is this going to take? Like, that's what I want you to be able to do, is to be able to really start speaking from a place of knowledge so that you get what you need for your dollar, for your community, and that it's effective use of your money and time. So what are the 6 steps that we need to look at? So we're going to talk about domain and IT, the technology behind it, a little bit, right, in the time that we have. Figure out your layout would be your next piece. What's the look and feel that we're going for? Gather content, test it out, and launch, right? I know that's always the scariest thing, even for me today. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Technology can be scary. I'm super excited today. I finally came into 2021 and I got a second monitor. And if you see me, it's just very nerve-wracking. So if you've got a website, or if you don't have one and you're like, oh, it's okay. You get to make mistakes now and then. So don't make it that it's a huge thing. That's why we say, and people go, Zan, $30,000. No, that's why I said you get the benefit of my knowledge, which is to do some planning first, which is to look at what your budget is and to look at what your community really needs. I did not do any of that. I jumped in and basically said, give me the shiniest, fanciest website possible. I got some funding from the government, and that website designer went excellent and went to town, and good for them. It's beautiful, but it isn't totally, it's what I need. And so that's what we're going to talk about, these few points. So the first one, domain and IT. And what does this mean? This is your website address. So for me, mine is www.zandraross.ca. And why I tell you that? Because it's really easy to remember. If you know my name, you're going to be able to find my website. And that's another thing that I will start out, because we're going to talk about purchasing a domain from a domain registrar is what we call it. And there's GoDaddy, Namecheap. There is SiteGround is what I use. There's so many different things out there. And when we talk about your web platform, a lot of those will have their own built-in IT, like SiteGround that hosts my website. That's where my website lives. Well, they also take care of my domain name. So I don't have to go, but some places you got to go to a couple places, especially if you're designing your own. But what I would say here is make the name simple because it's amazing how many people, and government is infamous for it, having a name that's this long. And sorry, anybody that's got a name that long right now. But the fact is, I can't find you. I pretty much have to have a website. And that's where people go, okay, I think it was Bubba's, Bubba Gump Shrimp and Fresh Handmade Soap. Right? That doesn't make any, if that's what your web name is, nobody's ever going to find you. They're going to find Bubba Gump's handmade shrimp, right? And that ain't going to be you. So really think about your name when you do it, because that's, like I said, government teaches me a lot because their names are always this long, but then nobody can get them because they missed a zero or they missed a slash or they missed the XYZ in it. So keep it simple. And make it something searchable. That's what it is. That's what I'm telling you. That's my next point, is make it easy for people to find you. And people go, oh, well, I want this fancy name. No, you want a name that people can find. So think about that when you're creating that name. And it might be using initials or acronyms. It might be like me, using your name or your organization name, but keep it simple and something that makes sense. That's logical. Not, oh, well, like what is like old, remember Hotmail addresses where it was like, yeah, 3P7 hot chick 45. And you're like, I don't know. Nobody could ever get your email because they could never remember it. Well, to you it was, I love 45 records. I'm showing my age again in the 80s. I love 45 records and my nickname was this and this and this. Well, that means something to you, but it doesn't mean anything to anyone else. So that's where you've got to really look about, you know, does this make sense to my client group who's trying to find me? Shareable hosting services can provide support. So what I just told you, for me, SiteGround, I love it because they take care of everything. My website goes down. They are my technician, and it literally costs me $30 a year, I think, for my site name, my domain name. Well, I can go get a technician and ask them anytime, hey, what's going on with my website? Because they have it. And they go, oh, Zandra, don't worry. We reset this thing for you. And it's just part of my $30 a year. So just so you know, that's what you want to ask. What do you provide? Right? That's another big question. So don't worry about always being the expert. I want you to be an expert in asking questions so that you get what you need. And then you can hire a dedicated webmaster as well. So you don't have to go through these. You can have somebody that goes, no, I'm going to take care of everything. You won't know it. And that's fine too, but not all of us have those access. So just to give you, it's a spectrum, right? There isn't a wrong or a right way to do anything. There's things that are going to be more effective for you and more helpful for you. There's things that are going to be more affordable or more expensive for you, but it's always a spectrum. That's why we really need you. I can advise you on the cheapest way to do it, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the most effective for your needs. That's why it's so important to figure all this stuff out. All right. All righty, here we go. So next piece that we want to work out, figure out your layout. So what does that mean? This is your sitemap we talk about. And we talked about we had a mini one earlier. What are those, 5 main pages, 6 main pages that you want? That's the beginning of your sitemap. What are the pages that I need this website to have? What's the content? Then step two, we go, okay, I've got kind of my bullet points, right? Like the PowerPoint is right now. This would almost be my sitemap of what I want to do, or those 6 points to this. I need to get a little bit more detail. And if you could see, I have a PDF that has a bunch of notes on for me right now that I'm reading from. Is it my whole presentation? No, to me, that's my wireframe. It's giving me more specific details about what each one of my pieces, one of those pages has to have in it. Okay, so the wireframe will get a little more technical and we'll show you some pictures. So that's what people think, oh, it gets over. No, it's always a process. So don't worry about it. Right now is brainstorm, put some bullet points on a piece of paper. Even if you have a website already, what's working, what's not working. What does the community like? What don't they like? And just start brainstorming on a piece of paper, right? So you can start doing that. And then finally, once we get through these first 2 steps, then you can start to do a mock-up. And that's where they will send you a design, something similar to what you want. It won't necessarily have all of your content right off the bat either. So if you're going, oh, should it be perfect? No, that depending, that's how many you may want to ask your web person. Okay, so will you be bringing me a mock-up, or will you be bringing me a draft? Yes, and that's same to me, draft, mock-up. Oh, will it have our content? Do you need our content? What capability will it have when you bring it to me? And I'll explain it to you, because it may not have all of it. And some people, I worked with another client where they were like, they messed us over. They just did. No, the mock-up can be just samples that they found that they want to model your website over. What does that look like? So here we go. We'll start talking about the sitemap. So you've seen this. It's really like your organizational chart, right? Your org chart. That's what a sitemap is. And it really shows you the levels. Where do you start? And it helps to create a flow. So again, as a person who is selling products and selling myself, and some of you, it's, we need you to apply, right? Or if you look at a residential school, or my mom's just applied for the day school money, and it was a very specific process, and they had to very line it out because there was people calling, ringing, jamming up the phone line. Well, what it is they had to really think and go, wait a minute, how do I help a person navigate through the system the easiest way possible? So this is what we look at. The homepage is your overarching structure. I like calling it your closet, right? If you think about an empty closet, you've got your hanger, your rod hanger. What is this all about? It's a closet. It's where I'm going to hang my clothes or my information. That's your homepage. This is what we're all about. This is a closet for our people. This is where we're going to put our stuff. Now, what are the clothes that are hanging in the closet? We've got programs and services. We've got resource and events. We've got staff. We've got about us. We've got application forms. We've got, some of you have password protected member sites where you keep, private information that's just for the community. So that's what you need to figure out. Where does all my stuff go? Right. And then a lot of times when you have programs and services, there are a lot of times will be program or departmental. But you can make this, because then we could have another drop down tree coming from each one of those things, right? So about us, you could go, oh, our traditional history, our current history, our future history, you might want 3 more down. Don't have to, but that's why I want to show you visually how you can start to arrange your thoughts so that you're not getting overwhelmed and having like, oh, because that's what I think happens with websites. We do a brain dump and nobody bothers to kind of sort a lot of times, or at least I didn't. So I just kind of thought, oh, I want it. This is me. Here you go, bleh, all over the page. And now I'm starting to figure it out. So how do you want to organize your clothes closet? You want to color coordinated? You want shoes on the bottom, pants on the top? I don't know. That's what this is about. Now we've got that sitemap. We've said, okay, I got an idea. Now it's time to get a little bit more technical. And this is actually one that was created for one of Camila's clients. She created this from scratch from them. So this gets created based on your needs. You can go, and we'll talk about platforms in a bit. Yes, you can go to done for you websites, and we'll talk about it. And there's done for you consult. That's what we try to provide for our clients. Is it's overwhelming. We can teach you how to design it, or do you just need some help designing it? So this is one that Camila set up for our clients to, and it's based on exactly what they need. This isn't a template from some other organization. This is what they wanted. And so walking through and saying, where do we want things, so that you can really see a visual layout. And is it going to be a multiple page or is it going to be a single page? If you guys see a lot on, and I use Facebook, when they sell something, what they do is they have, and they're normally sales pages, they're just a one-page website, where then there's more technical ones where you click on different tabs and it takes you to different places. There are pros and cons to both of them. There are some places, businesses that I know that are going to a straight one-page thing because they want to keep people. They don't want to confuse them by clicking on different. So they would just rather them go through, and it's more like a newsletter than it is, right? Where it's every day is happening. But this is something that your technician should help you be able to do, is start to create that more detailed. Where are my buttons going to go? Where are our social media icons going to sit on this page? And as well, it's really going to help you see the flow of the information and if this is going to make sense for people or not. All right. And then to our mock-up. All right. Oh, and what I was going to say too about your wireframe, depending on your budget, you may have more videos, you may have less videos, you may have live streaming going to your website. We're going to talk about some tools that you can add to your website, SpeakPipe, like ways for your community members to engage. You may have, so depending, that's why it's important to really figure out what your budget is. How much do we have right now? And then also have a wish list. Once we get more money, this is what we'd like to add, or this is what we'd like to look at. So, and like I said, you can even put a lot of these stuff and have a placeholder for it where it is coming soon, right? You can make your website and go, we don't have the technology to live stream yet, or we haven't figured it out. Well, let's put a live stream coming soon so people get excited. Why? Because they're going to keep coming back to see if it's live yet. You want that connection with your website, or it's pointless to have it. And that's what I think a lot of people, oh, well, we have a website. Well, if no one ain't going to it, honey, nobody watching it and nobody's getting your great content. All right. So mock-up, here we go. So this is your first peek at your website. It's non-live and it's in a testing format. It allows you to start to, right? Because this isn't what yours would look like, but this is just a piece that you could go through and it would start to show you how your website might start to look. And why do we do this first? Because you may go, oh no, that's totally wrong. But that's what'll happen is we go to designer and think it's like a painting where we've got to wait till the end to get the art from them and then go, oh my gosh, that doesn't look like what I told you to draw. Well, that's it. Your website is a piece of art, but it's not. You get to decide what your picture looks like. So to me, that's what in the old school, that's what happened to me is my web designer was really an artist and they just went, well, it's beautiful, but never really bothered to ask me, what is it that you want from this? So it's way bigger than what I would ever need. Down the road, it'll serve me, but I wish that they would have done me a mock-up. I wish that I would have said, oh no, I don't need those things yet. So just being aware of that. Number 3, what's the look and feel, right? This is your branding. Just talked about it. What is it that you, how do you want people to feel? Do you want them to see you as a professional government-based person? Do you want it to be a community feel where you're like, no, we want our community members to get excited about this? Do we want this to be more of a for-profit look? Because like my community, we are struggling. We're right in the middle of a territory where we have, we're in the middle of Tsilhqot'in territory in a lot of ways. So treaty negotiations are a lot harder for my community. So do they wait? No, they're going way more into an economic development mode. So they want their website to look more for investment, right? So people that want to invest in our community, that's who we want to attract. We still have our community stuff, but that's the choice of flavor that we're starting to move in versus more of a organic and community feel to it. So your color palette's going to have a huge thing. What is your logo? And the big thing now, I love it when we have super complex logos, but just remember, it also makes it harder to show up on your site. Even taking, we have to do a lot of work with clients afterwards to digitize their logos. And the harder it gets, the more detailed your images are. It can get really complicated and really expensive to digitize these things. So not saying simplify, but a lot of us just took a piece of artwork and then we take it to a designer, go, we need to make this into something. So just something to think about. How complex, how simple is your design layout for your logos, for your info, for your content? Accessibility considerations to accommodate a variety of audiences. So we talked about font, we talked about color, we talked about, it could be buttons, literacy levels, right? If it's pictures and a combination of words, is there place for traditional language on there? So what are the different things that you can do to provide? Okay. And like I said, it doesn't have to be complicated, right? So you want to just make sure that your text is easy to read, that people can see it, and that they can read it on their cell phone. Hugely important. It's amazing how many people do not optimize for, when considering that's the majority of the place that people read, and iPads and things like that, right? And keep it simple, right? So make sure your navigation, you don't need a whole bunch of subdirectories and all that kind of thing. Just make it simple and usable for people. And then make sure you've got a simple navigation, and you don't, remember how I said you can have here and have a whole bunch of multi-levels. Again, that you may want that if it's meant to be a content management website where everybody knows what they're looking for. If not, I want you to think about who is your audience. That is the number, know thy audience, right? Who are you trying to attract with this website? And that's going to help you decide how complicated you can make this. But again, maybe you want a combination. You go, yeah, Zan, we really want the investment, but my granny needs to know when bingo is. Well, that's where you have that big neon blasting green under events that says sign up here for bingo. All right. So you can mix to make it what you need it for your uses. It doesn't have to look like a government website. All right. There we go. Next piece, number 4, gather content. So now we got to figure out, and for some of you, this is people who haven't had their content or who haven't had their website. Some of you go, I'm trying to redo the old website. Well, that's great. You have a lot of your content already there. So this is where it can help to start making some notes of what is it that we need to do and start collecting a file. So what do we want? High resolution photos. The best resolution you can find, that's what stops people on a website. And same, you go, what about old photos? There's ways that we can scan them at a really high resolution instead of just taking a picture of it. And that's what people used to do, is just take a photo of the photo. Don't do that. You want to make sure that all of our pictures are scanned properly so that they have the biggest impact on that website, and the clarity of it, right? And making sure you have everyone's permission to have the photos as much as you can, right? Just so you don't have anybody, any artistic license saying, I didn't give you permission to put my picture up. And so ask for community. You can even have you can ask staff, but you go have a picture contest. That's a lot of times when we're working with communities, we go, hey, you guys, we're going to have a contest. We're working on the website. We want to see you reflected. You guys know that's the #1 reason that the best selling newspapers in the world are ones, it's actually the #1 best-selling newspaper in the world is in this little tiny community where they have, I think they have like 2,000 people in this community. And their readership rate is 120%. 120%. And people are like, what do you mean? Well, it's because people have more than one subscription. So 100% of the community has a subscription, and another 20% of them have more than one. And you go, why? And the guy will tell you, because I listened to a TED talk with him. He goes, because the majority of my newspaper is about community events and people. People want to see their family members. So that's what they do, is they'll have multiple, because they know there's a good chance every week one of their family members or friends is going to be in the newspaper, and they want more than one copy so they can cut the picture out, which is what we do, right? When we see somebody in the newspaper, go get 20 copies of it. Well, this guy's already got that and he's selling them and they're on subscription. So the more, and what is that lesson? People are attracted to what they see their reflection in. So the more we can have a community feel and have them involved, the more they're going to want to check into this website and see themselves, see their family, see their friends, see what's coming next. What events, what did the kids do last week in that gathering ceremony, right? So it's a way to get your community really involved in what they're doing. All right. Next is a description of programs and services. And this is a collective effort, because we don't just want your 3-page thing that you give for proposals every year. We want to make it punchy. We want to make it passionate. So what we like to do is to make sure that each one of your departments has a mission statement, a vision statement that leads into your bigger organizational, because that really tells people in a sentence or two what that particular focuses and the goals of are that department. So for me, that's what I love in a lot of that detail there. And staff and program leads should be involved in this, helping create this. So you can do it, the technician can do it, but I like having everybody involved. It's just that much quicker. Leadership pictures of all of your leadership, your staff. Some people go, oh geez, it's hard with turnover maybe, right? But ideally, if you have somebody in charge of this, see, now you've got kind of a list of where you can start going, we should get the communications person to be doing this. And really, even if you have high turnover, don't worry about it. It's about corporate memory. It's about all the amazing people that have come and gone through your organization. But it really is a way for those people, especially those living away from home, to feel connected with the community still. That's what I love, being able to go look in the staff listing and go, oh, they told me to call this person. And when it's just a name, it's like government. But when I can actually see a face there, and especially a face that maybe reminds me of my own, and I'm kind of scared to do it, hugely powerful, you guys, hugely powerful. And then blog posts. So what is this to me? This is a lot about the corporate knowledge, the goings on in our organization. Blog posts can be about what the departments are doing. So to me, if you have a community newsletter, to me, every newsletter submission could be a blog post as well. So you could just host it as one big giant newsletter. Mine's like 48 pages long. I would rather just look at the education one. So if there was an education blog where I could just go read the education report instead of the other 48, that would make me really happy. So there's some different ways, but also information. I just spoke about Indian Day School money, residential school. Well, there could be blogs on how do you apply for this money, or info sections, you've got it. So you don't have to call it a blog. To me, it's more information. It's a story about whatever it is that you want to share with your community. All right, so there we go. So that's a way for content. Community submissions, and we're going to actually look at some ways for you to actually get this input rather than calling everybody. And because you're going, Zad, that's great to get all this input. How do we do it? We'll talk about that here shortly. So test it out. That's the next thing that you want to do. So this is great where you have a bunch of people look at it before you make it go live. So what do we want to do? You need to make sure, this is a great way to make sure that your website works across devices. So here you can go, Google has a lot of amazing things that will help measure how fast the speed of your internet is, how all these things. Well, this is a link. And like we said, you'll get the PowerPoint presentation. It'll be accessible to you after. You can click on it. And I don't know, Camila, maybe you could even pop that into the chat box if you wouldn't mind. That would be great. Just that link if anyone wants to give it a try now, but it'll help you decide how does your look on mobile devices. And it's a shock because if you don't look at it yourself, you'll be shocked at how messy and ugly it can look. Do all the links work? So have somebody go click everything. Don't just assume, well, we kind of theoretically it worked and we clicked here and there. No, get somebody to manual. And what I love doing is getting my mom to go do it. Your mom, is she a technician? Nope. My mom is so technically struggles with it. But if she can figure out how to click the buttons and I can say, go here, go do this. And she goes, yeah, I did it. I know I got a win in sight, right? So instead of going to always the highest, which is what we do, it's like proofreading your own work. You miss all the ands and the does and you go, how did I miss that? Because your brain is already looked at it. Give it to somebody who has to read it for content. So that's my mom is my proofreader because her, she's residential school, her literacy, sometimes she says I struggle with it, but I go, you're exactly who I want because I don't want to write for this person. I want to write for us and you are me, right? Proofreading. Oh, I just said that right there. Very important, right? Go back through it, get somebody else, get 3 people to do it. Honestly, it's really a huge thing. People make huge judgments. You see Facebook when you write your as Y-O-U-R instead of Y-O''RE. You see the memes about that, right? But really, it's no joke. People make decisions about you. I do all the time. Oh my God, this silly, like to me, grammar, you can't spell a word right. How can I trust you to spend $1 million of our dollars? You didn't spell this right. Oh my, and it's terrible, right? It's kind of like people who say with lots of tattoos and they go, man, you shouldn't judge me when you go to a workplace. You shouldn't. You're right. Everybody should be measured on their own and it's becoming more acceptable. But the fact is there's still some people out there that is how they're going to judge you. is by the way you look or by your misspelling. So I encourage you, don't ever think, oh, what's the big deal? It's a huge deal to a lot of people. So just something that you can get somebody else to support you with. And then an SSL certificate. This is something that you can get, which just it's a security, a secure site license, which basically, and you'll see it. You've clicked on other links where it's basically put up a warning sign and said, we don't know about this, is not a secure site. Yours will make sure there's no spammers, hackers, all that stuff. People can safely go, and that your information is not being stolen from you as well. So it's just another layer of security. If you are your own webmaster and you've designed your own, well, that's an additional service that you probably have to add on with your domain name and things like that. Again, for me, with mine, it's already added into my SiteGround. So depending on your your domain holder or your domain place, they will have different. So just ask, what do you offer, right? When I sign up for this domain. So you're just going to be smarter after this, right? And then finally, it's launch time. So I need a big gun on that one. We'll have to put that on there. So what does this look? It's time to press play. And the fact is, I'm going to tell you, you probably will still have a spelling error. You probably will still have a link that doesn't work. It's technology, my friends, but don't worry about it. Don't let that hold you back from pressing play, from moving towards where you want to be. All right. So what do we do? Start with social media, man. Get people excited. It's our website. Come look in our closet, right? It's almost like, look at my newly designed walk-in closet, right? With all my clothes coordinated and information galore. So get on social media. Start letting your community know what's happening. Generate buzz. Maybe you have maybe there's a contest on the website of where everybody who comes and clicks, and you've got a link, click here, you're going to be signed in for a draw. So it's just to start getting that, because that's what happens. The more people that click, the higher your website comes up in searches. So I say, you do want to start selling. Say you go, yeah, we want to get into facilitating cultural development or cultural sensitivity workshops for companies. Okay, well, then we need to make sure that we've really got it laid out properly and that communities can see that from us, right? But that's something search optimization. Well, we want to make, hey, companies, we want to make sure we use lots of words. So we are into cultural sensitivity training. So your content, your words are really important, because that's where when I'm searching and I go, I need to get somebody to help me with cultural sensitivity training. So I'm going to Google cultural sensitivity training. The more times people go to your website for everything, mainly cultural sensitive, but anytime, you are going to score higher in the Google search, right? And that's what we want you to have, it such a high SEO search engine that you're going to consistently rank at the top. That's my goal. When people put in coach, life coach, leadership coach, consulting, Indigenous consultant, I want to be at the top of the list. Well, that takes me making sure there's fresh content and getting as many people to come to my website. So that's what I would suggest, is get people on your website. Contest, get them leaving feedback, and we'll give you a couple of things here to talk about. Have a process for feedback to report glitches. So don't just go, oh, this is working, we're good. No, everybody, we want to know, because this is new, right? We want to make sure that we've got all the info, and you guys know how it is. I always joke, our communities love to find out when we make a mistake and let us know about it. So be open to it, be excited about it. We need your info. This is a community site. So let's do this. All right. And then almost here, my friends, almost at the end. Thank you so much. Looking at the time here. So where are we at now? So we got a couple of bonuses for you. SEO basics. I've been talking about that little thing. We're not going to go too deep. My technicians, you know what this means, or any of my business owners. What does this mean? It means search engine optimization. What the very basics of this are, I just told you, you want, when somebody puts in your community's name, that yours is the first name that comes up, and not, like for me, the Williams Lake First Nation. I want my First Nation to come up, not the Williams Lake first responders of many nations, right? Somebody just types in a few words, they're going to go, yeah, I don't know what that is. That's not it. You want to have it so that your words, the name of your website, the content in your website is going to make it so that when they put in Williams Lake First Nation, that I come up at the top. So Williams Lake First Nation better be in my name, Williams Lake First Nation, right? I better have it sprinkled everywhere in my website too, not just in the title, everywhere. Because the more times it reads it, Google, everything goes, oh, Williams Lake, Williams Lake, Williams Lake. Okay. And it knows that they're going to rank me higher because look at all the people and look how many times she has websites. So there's 3 factors. And I'm talking about the one is load time. How fast does it take your website to load? So what does that mean? Slower load time equals lower on search ranking. So all of you with all of your bells and whistles and all of your things that take forever, all your graphics, may be slowing you down. That may be killing your where you show up in the search engine. For a lot of our communities, because our names are so unique, for me, where we still go by Williams Lake First Nation, even though we have a First Nation name, but for us, that's too hard for industry. We're trying to attract industry. We want to keep it as simple. Our Indigenous name, Clachel, is an everywhere in our website, but it is not in the name of our website because that's our clients aren't going to find us. Our investors and even a lot of our members don't even know how to spell the name, so they're never going to find our name. So that's what I want you to think about. You can say this is just a cultural thing. Is it? That's why we want you to ask what your purpose is, because it can really determine what your outcome is going to look like. The next one is original content. So blog posts. So if you just have a flat static website that there's no reason for people to go back, that there's no reason for them to go see it, it's just the info page, then you're going to rank lower. So the blog posts, if you're constantly updating your info, that's what we want. Constantly updating, adding dates to the calendar, changing pictures, right? It's not just about making your website look good. It's to make sure that you are search engine optimized. And so that even funders that come in, they go, man, we got some slippage. Who can we go find? Well, you want them to find you. And you laugh, you know, they come and find you. They come and find me. Hey, Zandra, we've got end of year slippage. Can you spend this for us? We found you online. You darn right I can. Sign me up, right? Number 3, links to your website. So what it is, it's great where you can get other people. So if you look at the Assembly of First Nations, if you go look at, there's a page where they've got all of their communities that are listed, and they've got links, hyperlinks back to the community. Oh, you want to find, these are all the First Nations that we represent in the Regional Assembly of First Nations of BC. BCAFN. Well, you go, oh, well, it's not nice. Look what a great service they're providing to us by putting these links. Yes, but they're also providing a great service to themselves, because every time somebody clicks to mine, they're helping me get searching because they're helping drive traffic to me. And every time somebody clicks, but also they go, hey, somebody linked to your website. You must be somebody important. We're going to rank you higher. You know, it's a lot technical, but I like talking the way we understand. So the more that you can link to other sites and have people link to your website, the better. Put yourself out there, because it basically shows your hot property. All right. So those are a few of the things that you can look at. All right. Finally, a couple of more things I've talked about. So some virtual tools to maximize your usefulness of this website and to make it not so flat that it's just people coming to it. So there's a couple of things that I love to do that we're working on my website right now. So you can use voice messaging tools. So yeah, you click here, type me your response. Oh my gosh, my literacy is not good. I'm frustrated. I'm sick of, you want me to write another thing down? I'm frustrated. I want you to hear my voice. So a great thing, there's tools called, an example that I'm going to use called SpeakPipe. And it's an app that you can add to your website where basically people can press a button and record a message to you. It's a way to grab feedback instead of just having it type here and contact us. People can actually say, hey, this is Regina. My arms are broken. I can't write or type right now. This is my phone number. Can somebody give me a call back? I need a home care worker. Right? So just another way for those people who aren't into typing on the computer. Another way is appointment booking. So for me, I used to just be always like, is this time good for you or is that time good for you? Oh, and that doesn't work. How about this time? Now I use something called Calendly. There's many different booking links where basically you set when your appointments are, you send a link to people. So people can click, you want to meet with the health worker. Well, you can have their schedule on where they get to click on the website, and then the appointments come up. Oh, I want to see Brenda at 10 a.m. Boom. Sets their appointment. Brenda gets an email. it gets added to this, whatever your schedule system is, and the client gets an email. And then prior to the session, you can set a day reminder, 2-hour reminder, then we'll then send them another message to remind them, kind of like these Zoom meetings, right? Telling us when's that next meeting coming. And then another way, and you saw it on the Clayton one, SurveyMonkey, other polling or information gathering tools. So you can have a link on there, which takes you over to SurveyMonkey, or another way to gather information from people, a focus group, right? So just ways that you can continue to interact with your people. And again, keep your site active, because people just think you create it and you let it go. Not if you want it to be effective, and not if you want to not to stop the stream of phone calls and emails. We know we will still get those stream, but ideally, if you've got a good running system here, communication, and making this a major part of your communication strategy, I can really help free up some of your time to do the things that you need to do. And then another piece. So writing for the web, bonus, language should be simple. Like I said, use the nickel word instead of the 25-cent word is what my English teacher used to tell us. So instead of trying to find the fanciest word, find the simplest word. It's the same with when we do vision and mission statement. It's amazing how everybody has like a 3-page vision and mission statement, when really your vision and mission statement, you should be able to memorize it and say it. It's your elevator pitch. So for me, the most effective vision and mission statements are 1, 2, 3 sentences maximum. And even that gets a bit long because I can't remember it. I want my community members to be able to say exactly what happened. That's why there's a lot of misinformation too, is because we use government talk a lot of the time. So what are the basics? How do we break this down into bullet form, point form for people to understand? And so that we get them to go where we need them to go and alleviate their frustration. Use short sentences and paragraphs. Headlines should be succinct and clear, and you should have them right nice and bold. Make it, don't make it too pretty, the font. And people use a lot of curly Q font, I call it. I know there's better words, but you know what I mean, like Times New Roman and stuff. I like seeing nice, clear, I can't think of the words right. Arial. I'm an Arial fan. What can I say? Me and Times Roman. It just makes it more complicated to read, right? When there's too much design to it. And then avoid jargon, acronyms, and technical language, right? So as much as you can, just explain it. But if you go, but Zam, there is. Well, what I would say, give the brief description on the first page and then go, here's the complete application, click here. And then you can have the more, but give them that ease of understanding. And here we are, my friends. Frequently asked questions. We're going to jump into here looking at the time. You always think that it's not going to go as fast as it does, but I thank all of you, and hopefully we're going to jump in here. I got a few more. What are some of our common questions that we have for people? So I'm just going to get here. So how long with this? I'm going to jump in with a few, but we want to know what your questions are. And then I'm going to jump in and see with Selena and Camila here, if there's any additional ones. So how long will this process start? I'm just going to start out there. So this is really going to depend on the state of your current website. Does it need a complete overhaul or just a refresh? Do you have a website? Are you starting from scratch, right? You're renaming your community and you're like, no, we're throwing that all out and we're starting fresh. How fast and how skilled is your team? How many people do you have on your team, right? How much time do you have to put towards this project? If you're doing it off the side of your desk, then you've got to be generous with yourself and patient and realize it's not going to happen in the same amount of time as if 5 people were working on it. Budget, brand consideration. So are you updating your brand? I'm in the process. So I was going to go gung-ho on my website because I've told you there's a lot of things. But then my people, Camilla's like, hey, man, wait a minute. Let's figure out what your brand is. Let's not keep throwing money after this until we figure out what you really need. So that's what we'd say is get down, think through this. All right. And then generally speaking, a new website should take between 6 to 18 months to develop, to get it to fully. You go, I need it done. And you can have a straw up. We can have something, the basics, but to really get it to where you want it, where you feel like, yes, this is my clothes closet. This is representative of me. Just take the time. And if community members are going, this is taking forever, let them know. Well, no, generally it takes 6 to 18 months to do it. So in whatever time frame, we're doing it pretty stinking good. How much do I need to budget? So again, we just talked about it. You need to just start to figure out your time and salary, your staff. Like, are you doing this internally or externally? If you're getting an external person, I want a budget And I don't want just, well, as needed extra hours. No, what do you think how much, what's the slush fund here? Realistically, if this does take, I would add a potentially 10 more out. That's what I even get them to do is commit. If you are going to charge me more, about how much? Because if you think you are already over time, then you're not budgeting properly. So that's when I get people to be real honest with it, right? Also, how much time do they have? Like, are you doing 18 of these websites right now? You're probably not going to have time to move mine as a priority then, and I need mine as a priority. So you need to determine how fast you need it done. If you need to hire people, if you need to source it out, and other considerations, purchasing the domain name, right? You need to figure out a name that nobody else has. So that's great if you have your name, but you need to check it right away. It's kind of like getting your business license, right? You need to make sure that nobody else has used it or you can't use it. Honorary for your advisory group, if that's applicable, right? If you're able to do that. Branding, you're looking at $1,000 plus for a new logo, right? Web developers, 5,000 plus, or maybe $100 a month. So if you have an ongoing, it's kind of neat now. Before, you just have to contract out the whole project. Now there's actually web providers in town, and we are partnered with one of them where he manages all of my updates, all of my plugins. If things go down, I just got to send him a message, and it's about $100 a month. And it is such a blessing not to have to be paying somebody part-time or full-time, because I don't always have problems with my Facebook or my internet or my website. So, it can get expensive. And then really looking at the content. So do you need to create content? Do you already have stuff? Are staff going to be working on it? Or are you like me, where you're getting guest bloggers? I'm getting guest people to bring content in of things that I don't know. So just some things for you to consider as you're developing this. What platform should I be using? And you guys can ask questions in all. Feel free to drop them into the notes or into the chat box if there's anything you have. What platform should I be using? All right, I'm a little bit jaded here. It's like, not jaded. To me, there is no other option. There is only one option, and it's WordPress. There's WordPress and there's everybody else. We mentioned GoDaddy. We mentioned, right, Wix. You guys have heard of them. What we are finding now is you can start there. But the fact is, I have not met one person yet, organization, that has not went and pulled their hair out and went, why did I start with that? Because it cannot grow with you. There's limited functionality. And why is because it's very affordable. So they don't want you. And if you do want more, they don't have the ability. They're not meant to be a high-end website developer. They're meant for people who need something simple and effective and easy. So what my advice is, you go WordPress. There's nothing else right now in the world, I think, that is as easy to use and is well regarded. So you go, Zan, where do I find people? We'll talk about it. Upwork is where I get a lot of support. And that's like it's people all over the world. There are people that WordPress is a specialty. And I have somebody that charges like $25 an hour to do all of my web design. And we're moving through, I'm getting out of that because we're on a different time zone. She's in India. It makes it hard for us to co-work together because she's just getting up when I'm getting ready to go to bed. So, but just some things to think about if you're like, there are ways to do this affordably as well. Okay. But for me, there is no other. WordPress is easy to use option that can be fully customized by you or web designer, because there's also templates where you can start to, where there's those wireframes and everything else where you can just start to go, I'm going to start here. The other things is they're easy to adapt and change and add to. So if you start with a simple one, it's like nothing for somebody to come in and start changing it easily. And that's what we're finding is with people right now, when they've had a designer design it from scratch, once that person's moved on, nobody else knows that language. Maybe you get a super, but it's going to cost you big money because it's not the next designer's design. All right. Almost there. Do I need to hire outside consultants? I kind of mentioned that to you, right? You can. A trusted consultant is a great thing to have. You guys all know. And somebody that you can trust and that can give you good advice and that maybe will give you free advice sometimes and not exactly have to charge you. They can just say, do this or this. It's up to you, but I would do this. I love giving advice for free sometimes because it frustrates me when people want to charge the pants off of everybody for life. This is life, man. We got to have this stuff to communicate. So yeah, a web developer, but again, you don't have to. You can have that $100 a month company that can oversee the details and help support your content manager or your receptionist, whoever's kind of working on that detail. All right. And then the consultant can also bring in, that's why I'm kind of formulating, because it's so hard when you go, oh, I can do this piece, but you need to go find the other pieces. We're really working hard to provide a wraparound service so that we can say, no, these guys aren't going to, but also that they understand Indigenous business. They understand what the work that we do and how it has to sound, look, and feel for our members, which I don't think necessarily lots of web designers know, because we're kind of new to the game in a lot of ways, right? And thank goodness for the First Nations Technology Council and the First Nations Public Service Sector for doing this and helping us up, all of us up our game. Other questions? And I'm gonna look in here and jump up, look on my thing. Awesome, thank you. Oh, good, and we've got that. Oh, okay, so good question here. So we have a domain name with a company for several years. What would we have to do to switch to another provider? As simple as I did was just registering my name with the new domain, because they don't tell you can't use the domain. You can go put it in. So, and Camila, do you want to jump in? I think it's really just a matter of letting your old domain run out and starting your new domain.
Yeah, thanks, Zan. So I would say if you are hiring a trusted consultant, a trusted web developer, or even, as Zan mentioned, one of those companies that can provide a monthly service, they should be able to take care of this transition for you seamlessly. I think it's a lot easier than we think sometimes, but definitely ask those questions and make sure that whoever you're hiring, if you are hiring a consultant, that they're building that into what they can offer you.
Thank you. And what I would do, that's one of the questions. So when I switched, I had another company that held all of my data, all of my info, and wouldn't allow me to, because I started learning about web. I'm like, well, can't I just get, because there's programs that can help you edit even a designed website, and I knew how to do that. Well, they wouldn't give me access to that. They wanted to keep their money flowing through their fingers. And I was like, wait a minute. So what I ended up doing is I went to this new place. I heard about SiteGround. So that's the other thing, is you go look at your new designer. And I went to SiteGround and I said, I want to switch from this other place. And they won't give me my info and they won't help me. SiteGround went, oh yes, we've had that happen. Don't worry about it. SiteGround went for my, I think it was $19.99 US. I paid for domain name. They went to the designer and said, you need to give us her info. We are now her new, and they took it. And the other place went, okay, and handed it over to them with no problem. So that's what's great. But again, if you can have somebody that can work with you and take that out of your hands, it's great and it's easy, but it is way easier than you think. So thank you for that, Camille. I appreciate it. Any other questions that anyone has? And hopefully everyone can make it to the communication webinar best practices next week as well, because while I won't be saying a whole bunch new, we're going to have some new technology that we're going to tie in that may be of interest to you in terms of, working with your community members and just maybe jazzing up some of the stuff you do, because you guys know what it is like being on Zoom for an hour and a half, because we've almost been there. So for me, that's my superpower, is I try to bring as much energy to the show as I can. Yes, sometimes I feel a little bit kooky, but that's what I do, right? Thank you. Other apps that are good for trying out, other than you mentioned, Calendly, Pipespeak. Okay, those are the two main ones that I use. I'm going to ask Camila again to jump in. Camila, do you have any things that you've been using? Those are kind of my two main ones. And what I was going to say, there's so many different ways, like different calendars. So if you were just even Google calendars, do you use different things, Camila? Or even, I'm even going to ask Selena.
Yeah, thanks, Zan. So first, to take a step back from website design, I would like to put in a plug for Canva, which I know that Zandra uses quite a bit. So, you do have those technicians and those graphic artists that can use the full Adobe Creative Suite, but Canva is a really inexpensive monthly subscription. I think there's even a free version, but that allows you to create a lot of the graphics that you can use on your website for social media. So that's the first recommendation I would make. And then I would also say, explore the integrations and the features that WordPress has built in, right? And if you are hiring a web developer who specializes in WordPress, ask them, what are their top recommended built-in features for WordPress? So for example, on a recent project that I worked on, we wanted to have an events calendar. Zandra highlighted that near the beginning of her presentation. WordPress had a built-in feature that we were able to use, that we would put an events calendar in an Excel spreadsheet, and WordPress would automatically populate the events calendar every night at midnight from that Excel spreadsheet. So that's kind of just one example of the cool features that WordPress has built in. Great, and I'm seeing some comments here about Canva. So Chris is mentioning there's a free version of Canva, absolutely. And another comment, you can even design your logo for a very low cost using Canva. So that's fantastic to see that folks are already utilizing Canva.
Awesome. Love it, Julia. Google integrations are wonderful. Oh my gosh, you can put so many things in. Slack is another one we're using where it's coordinating communication. So Slack is, and again, you can use it on a large scale where you can use it as a group communication tool where everybody in the community can be in a feed rather than on Facebook. So yeah, oh, and definitely Shopify, big time, right? E-commerce is going to become a thing. Eventbrite for event integration. I love it, right? You've got something you want to have come up and you want people to sign up for it. Just the Zoom integration, right? Being able to do webinars versus meetings. So yeah, I would love it. And I think, sorry, Slack. Yes. SLACK. It's a communication tool basically. And if, yes, that's right. Thank you, Julia. Slack. And it's basically a way to, it's a data management and people management system, for communicating with your team. Thank you. And so there is a ton, and we could go into that. And maybe that's an idea down the word. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Our name is Cocalitza. Exactly. It makes it difficult for people to find us. We use CCEC. Would that be something too basic? No, as long as, to me, it's really about how you communicate it. So if people were just to say, I don't know, would I be so part of your branding is going to be able to really make it clear that Cocalitza is here. It's kind of like Williams Lake First Nation. We still have Clechel everywhere, but Williams Lake First Nation is that overarching. So for you, it may be, this is our website, www.cccec.com. And here's our community name. So yeah, I think, yes, I know. I love your organization. Perfect. Also, my last suggestion, a newsletter application like MailChimp or MailerLite so that you can integrate an easy newsletter or mail up. Yes, I also use ConvertKit, MailChimp. Any of these services are really great that you can use to integrate. And a great way you go, where's that? Wow, this is all a lot. So there's actually one tool, and I call it's almost like the ring in the Lord of the Rings. It's called Zapier, and it's another tool, Zapier. And I'll put that in here. And what this is this is the ring that will manage them all. So you've got all these things. You're like, oh my gosh. Well, this is a tool that will help link everything together and send, thank you, and send and connect all of your integrations and send info. So you collect info from this one app. It's going to send it, like we were talking about, like the MailChimp. It's going to ship it over into a Google spreadsheet for you so that you can manage it there, but you're also going to have it saved in your Google, into here and here. So just so you know, because it can get, you're like, oh my gosh, there's all these things. No, there's tools, and maybe that's a workshop for another day, is even what are all the things, the tools that are available for you to make all this work. So awesome. Any other questions? I see our time. I love it. I'm going to finish with my last slide, but if there's more questions, we have more questions. But if you'd like to get in contact, I realize it's 11:34. We still got the question. If anyone else has any ideas, suggestions for us, please put them in the chat. But how can you get a hold of us? So if we can support you in any way in the work that you're doing, please feel free. You can go check out my website. Like I said, I'm not following all my own best practices, but that's okay. I'm working on it, because now that you've kind of heard my story, you can see where I'm at, and you can see where some of the struggles and where things aren't necessarily flowing well together. So it's almost a best practice and not best practices. But I've also got a bunch of free resources. Feel free to reach out and email my phone number. I also have a free Facebook group, Leadership Strategies for Ambitious People, where we talk a lot about these things. And then my final slide, and we're out of here. Yay! We made it to the end, everyone. Celebration time. Brought to you in partnership with the First Nations Technology Council, First Nations Public Service Secretariat, and myself and Camila. We want to thank you so much for having us today.
Thank you so much, Sandra. Appreciate it. Appreciate the extra 5 minutes for questions. Wonderful presentation today. Again, we will be back next week on Tuesday at 10 a.m. same time, talking about community engagement and communications best practices. So thank you again so much for your time. Again, this is being recorded. It'll be up on the FNTC website at some point later this week, I'm sure, and we'll make sure to get this PowerPoint out to you. Have a wonderful afternoon, rest of your day and week. Take care. Bye-bye.